Welcome back. A month ago, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister visited a Rohingya refugee camp in Bangladesh. According to CBC, the camps are home to nearly 900,000 minority Muslims Rohingya who fled a brutal ethnic cleansing campaign in Rakhine State in neighboring Myanmar, also known as Burma. The minister tweeted, "Every day more arriving at camps in Bangladesh. The stories must be heard. Today we want you to hear their stories." 22-year-old Ahmed Ullah and 19-year-old Faisal Mohammad who fled from Burma. Faisal, Ahmed Ullah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to start back to the basics. So, what was life like in Burma before the genocide? Like your day-to-day with your families, what were things like?
I mean, we were not born, like we didn't spend time in Bangladesh, but we heard stories from our grandparents and our parents. Before in 1982, everything was good because they had their citizenship rights. So
in Burma?
In Burma, yes. And when they had their citizenship rights, they were able to own lands. They were able to live a normal, basic life that we will live in a modern society here in Canada. Just a little different society, but we had the same freedom, freedom of movement. We were able to do whatever we needed to do.
Like, what did you feel like because I guess you grew up in Bangladesh then, right?
In Bangladesh, in refugee camp, yeah.
And how did you?
Growing up as a refugee kid, wasn't our because the area that we grew up, we weren't allowed to go outside the camp. If we do, then Bengali people will loot us or beat us up and say, or they will come up to us and say, "Hey, are you guys Rohingya or something?" And but if we identify ourselves, they will beat me up. They will loot us. Even when I was like, I remember when I was 9 years old, it was on an Eid day, so we wore some nice clothes, and us and my friends and I were planning to go to Teknaf. That's like about like an hour walk. So.
Okay. And is that like another community area?
Just
or?
different city.
It's
different city.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're planning to go there because that's where a lot of like fun activities happens, and so we had monies, and we decided to walk, and this probably 4 to 5 guys, they come up to us and they say, "Where are you guys going? Where are you guys from? Where do you guys live?" And they started asking questions, and because some guys, so 2 of my friends, they don't speak Bengali, so they started speak Rohingya. So Rohingya and Bengali almost sound similar, but it's like different. So they started, and then they noticed, and so they're like, "Oh, you guys are Rohingya." They loot us, they took everything from us, and we just came back home, and we didn't go out.
And you were only 9. You
yeah,
guys were 9
at that
years
time,
old.
yeah. And I don't know how many other people are being looted or being mistreated, or who knows.
Ahmed, let's talk about your story. So, what was your experience like? So, did you grow up in Bangladesh as well, or were you in Burma?
I was actually born there in the camps. So
in Bangladesh?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of funny when Faisal says the story, because I remember the time when we were growing up, when we were little kids, same thing would have happened to us, and we will laugh at those days now because it's in the past, but it's unfortunately still happening to other people. So for me, I had a little bit slight of a change of a story. I lost my father right after, like 2 years after I was born, and my father was in prison for we have no idea what crime he committed.
In Bangladesh?
Yes, in Bangladesh. His crime was that he was a Rohingya. That was his crime. So he was trying to work. So when they caught him working, because
outside the camp,
outside the camp, because what the basic essentials they were providing in the camp was barely enough to go from having a perfectly normal life, because my family comes from very rich family, so it's very hard for us to adjust to life in a refugee camp. So my father couldn't live with the stuff being provided by World Food Program. That was not enough for my family, so my father went outside, because my father used to also work with Faisal's dad and things like that.
So you guys knew each other?
Yeah, we knew each other before.
We just lived like a couple of minutes away from each other.
Oh, okay.
So.
So they caught him. I was age of 2, and my mom was pregnant with my little sister, and they imprisoned him. They beat him. They beat him enough that eventually he died in prison, and we wanted to give him proper burial, and they wanted money to bring him inside the camp. So We sold everything that we had, every single cooking pot, every pair of clothes that we had. We sold everything so we could give my father a proper burial.
And this was when you were only 2?
Yeah, I was 2. Then I struggled around house to house. My mom, we sold our home that we had. We bounced around house to houses until I was 7 years old. That's when I decided that I wanted to go to school. When I went to the school, the government school that they provided, the unit chair and the other UN agencies, I was rejected.
And they provided the school in the camp?
In the camps. They had
Okay.
5 schools for refugee kids to go for 250,000 people. So I was rejected in those schools. They said people like me, because my mother had mental trauma after my father passed away, they said people like me should not be educated. We should be bounced around places to places and just live our days as if it's our last. So I was beaten up in front of hundreds of kids that I wanted to be friends with, and I was pushed away with very little hope left. Then that's when I left the camp. I snuck out of the camp and I went out to the Bengali community and I got a job working 16 hours daily, every single day for 3
This was when you were 7 years old?
I was 7 years old and I made 10 taka. That was just enough to provide 1 meal for my family. So luckily it was the past over here, but it's one of the many stories that other people are facing, stories that we have lived. So it is very rough. I mean, we're not getting enough food from World Program, so we're forced to work. And also, women without husband are not treated with respect there, because they're not seen as people. So, yes, you will see that more in the film about the life. We produced a film, 14 Rohingya youth got together with Yusuf Zine, the director of the film, and we directed a movie, a documentary film, based on the real life stories of the kids in the documentary. You will see a little about the life we had before all this violence and genocide started, and the life that we had in a refugee camp, and you'll see a little bit about the life that we have here.
What about, and thank you for sharing that. I know it's probably not easy to relive that, so I really appreciate you guys opening up to our viewers. So you both talked about family. So what about your siblings and you know, your mom? So let's go with siblings and family. How did your family handle it? Because I know as boys, you guys have, you know, in those situations, you kind of have to go forward, right? And you need to provide as you did. But what about, how did your family and your younger siblings handle it?
Well,
and let's start with how many younger siblings you have, because I didn't.
In my family were 7 of us.
Oh wow, okay.
I have 2 sisters and 5 brothers, including myself.
Older or younger?
I'm the second oldest. So
oh, okay, and everyone's younger.
I have
okay.
older brother, and all of them are youngest. We struggled a lot with money, food, and school. The funny thing is, if you want to go to school, because all the kids, there's Arabic school, there's a school that they provided us. So those schools like from 9 to 12, we go there and they barely teach us anything. That's the A, B, C, and then.
And this is at the camps, right?
Inside the camp, yeah. And they give us biscuit and they just send us home. And so after 12, we come back and we pray and then we sleep a little bit and then we go to private school. And for a private school, everyone have to pay about 500 or 1,000 per month. And
who is the private school run by?
Like local Rohingyas.
Yeah.
Local Rohingyas within the camps.
Yeah, within the camps. Yes.
Okay.
They're not that educated, so they're just teaching whatever they know, whatever
just
they're taught.
Just passing it on, right?
Yeah. So and we weren't so it wasn't much educated. So they did their best, and we tried to learn our best, and so my dad used to sneak out at night because when they catch him, we have to pay a lot of big fine if you want to bring him back. If not, then
catch him. Where are they going to catch him? Because
like
he
Bengali,
would go out and
like
work.
The Bengali people, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or the people or the police. They're like there's a guard that you have to go through. So my dad used to sneak out. He used to go fishing, working. Like not just my dad. Like almost every father of the family. You know, they sneak out at night. They go fishing almost the whole day and come back the next day at night, and so that he could feed us well and everyone in the family.
When you guys are talking about they had to go and people were catching them, is it like the community, like the Bengali community, or was it like the police? Like,
So
what's
they
the...
have, so the Rohingya camp is surrounded. The other side, one side is mountains, and the whole other side is guarded by Bangladeshi military and also police. They have that, and they have a gate. There's a specific gate you can exit from, because all around the camps. So, for example, the camp is right in center, and there's mountains surrounded by three sides, and one side is the police camp with the Bengali houses.
Okay.
And if you want to leave legally, you have to bribe the police officers to let you out.
You have to bribe them.
You have to bribe them. You have to give them, if you're going for example, you're going to work, you pay almost 50%, over 50% of the whatever you earn to the police officers to bribe them to go out. Or if you go through Bengali people, sometimes they beat you up and they take everything that you have earned.
And this is still happening?
This is still happening till today, because when I was recently there, actually I was there in past October when the recent crackdown happened. I was there for relief work. One of my uncle, my father's older brother, he's still in that camp. He got beaten up because he has a shop in the camps, so he went to go get supplies for the store. So because he didn't want to bribe them, or he didn't have enough money to bribe them, they beat him up. So he was crying to me. He was like, "You guys are in Canada," and people look up to us. Because, like as I mentioned earlier, the film has given a lot of people hope. Before the film, nobody has knew who the Rohingyas were. Like, we had shows that you came to one of the shows.
I did.
You know, so before the show, nobody knew who Rohingyas were. So in 2015, after doing the show, everybody got a little bit of the ideas of the thing. So still, they tell us, you guys are there in Canada, so people see that we're all over the news or all over social media. People see that and they think we have the power to control what is happening there. So they tell us about how they're being looted, how they're being beaten up daily. All we could do is just listen and try to amplify their voice. That's all we could do.
So just as we wrap up, what is the one message you want to leave our viewers with? Just one message. I know it's a lot to ask, but see if you can.
There's nothing much, because nothing much we can ask for. I know we're trying our best, everyone trying their best to stop the genocide. Just one thing, that just keep pressuring the government, because they have the power that they can stop the genocide back home. They can help us to, if they pressure the government, then they can pressure the Burmese government
to do something.
To do something about it, because all we want is our rights and our land, and everyone will be happy to go back in Burma and live their life as they lived before.
Ahmed Ullah, one last message.
One thing I will say to the viewers is that we don't have to wait for things to happen here, because violence has no place in this world. That's how it should have been. We don't have to wait till mothers to be raped here, or childs to be burned into a fire alive while their mother being raped, or man being slaughtered. We don't have to wait for all of this to happen. You know, it's happening there today. How do we know it's not going to happen here tomorrow? So let's not watch, and let's not wait and watch to see if it's going to happen here. You know, as Canada, being a country humanitarian champion, we have so much power invested in the country within. You know, Canada is a very powerful country. We could do a lot. You know, all we need to do is keep pushing the government, like Faisal said, and look as if when you're talking about this crisis, look up as if it could happen to your family. It could happen to anyone. And these people did not choose to be in this position. They did not choose to be in this position without food, having a perfectly normal home that people came and bombed and burned it down. They did not choose that. And it's not their fault that they were born into a Muslim Rohingya family. You know, where God created us and put us in a certain place. Does not mean that people should pick on us because we're born into a certain family.
Very rarely I'm at a loss of words, but I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and sharing your stories. I know it's giving me chills just hearing about it, but you know, I don't know what you guys are going through to even have to retell this, but I know from all of us here, we admire your strength and continue to, you know, we'll do what we can to amplify your voice, and and hopefully together we can do something about it. Thank you so much. If you want more of Let the Quran Speak, you can watch previous episodes or new ones by subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/QuranSpeaks. Stay updated by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter @Quran_speaks. And when you're on the go, listen to our podcast at QuranSpeaks.com.